Today we will discuss about bacteria. It means a group of organisms come under true bacteria, eubacteria. Yesterday we had a glance over cyanobacteria, and today we will discuss about bacteria. All bacteria are unicellular, that you know about. They do have the cell wall, but the cell wall of bacteria is different from the cell wall of plant cells as well. It is different. The cell wall constituent of plant cells is cellulose, hemicellulose, pectin, like that. But as far as the cell wall of plants, bacteria is made up of peptidoglycan. The cell wall material of bacteria is peptidoglycan. It consists of both carbohydrates and proteins. It differs from the cell wall of plants. In addition to cell wall, already you know about in theory, the cell wall of bacteria is externally covered by a slime layer, and that is differently named in pathogenic and non-pathogenic bacteria. Externally, it is covered by either slime layer or capsule. We say slime layer only when it is made up of a polysaccharide. That external layer is said to be slime layer when it is made up of polysaccharide. This you can notice in non-pathogenic bacteria. In non-pathogenic bacteria, external to cell wall, there is a slime layer which is made up of polysaccharide. But in case of pathogenic bacteria, that the external layer is said to be capsule and is made up of polypeptides, proteins. And example, all pathogenic bacteria, they do have capsule. That's why they are resistant to chemicals, temperature and other external factors because of presence of the capsule in pathogenic bacteria, a disease causing bacteria. Just like plant and animal cell, next to cell wall there is a plasma membrane. And remember, plasma membrane, whether it is there in plant cell or in animal cell, even in bacterial cell, is one and the same. That is lipoproteinaceous. All the plasma membranes are having two lipid layers with extrinsic and intrinsic proteins. Here and there, that plasma membrane in bacteria has made some foldings named mesosomes. Actually, these mesosomes, they help for the cell division by binary fission. And one more interesting thing about the bacterial cell is that even in the plasma membrane layer, we do find oxysomes. They may ask the question in NEET, The respiratory structures in bacteria are oxysomes. 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 They are the respiratory structures. And as far as the cytoplasm is concerned, as bacteria is a prokaryotic, there is an incipient nucleus that is represented by a double-stranded circular DNA. A double-stranded circular DNA, but no cell organelles except one cell organelle, that is none other than 70S ribosome. Already you know that in case of eukaryotic cells, 80S ribosomes are there, but in prokaryotic cells like bacteria, 70S ribosomes. In 70S ribosomes, a smaller unit is 30S and larger is 50S. That S stands for Swedberg unit. But in the eukaryotic cells, there are 80S ribosomes. Smaller unit is of 40S and larger is 60S. Bacteria is lacking all the organelles like mitochondria, even chloroplasts, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulum, all those organelles are absent. One and the only organelle present in bacteria is ribosome, that too 70S ribosome. If they ask the question, which type of ribosomes are there in bacteria, 70S ribosomes, in which 30S smaller and 50S larger unit. But as eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells, we know about the types of ribosomes. For that, they may or may not ask the question, but they would ask the question. Among all the organelles present in eukaryotic cell, there are two autocatalytic organelles present. Autocatalytic organelles. Even they make a question on this. Which of the following is an autocatalytic organelles? There are two. One is chloroplast, other is mitochondria. Chloroplast and mitochondria. Why chloroplast and mitochondria are considered as autocatalytic organelles? Because they synthesize their own enzymes necessary for biochemical reactions. That's why they are said to be autocatalytic organelles. How they prepare their enzymes? They prepare their enzymes because they do have their own protein synthesizing machinery. They do have their own protein synthesizing machinery. Even they make another question as well, that is, the protein synthesizing machinery constitutes the protein synthesizing machinery which constitutes ribosome, a piece of DNA, and all the three types of RNAs. All together is a protein synthesizing machinery. Both mitochondria and chloroplast do have their own protein synthesizing machineries. And there is an expected NEET question. You know that autocatalytic organelles like chloroplast and mitochondria are present in eukaryotic cells, and they do have their own protein synthesizing machinery that consists of ribosome, a piece of DNA, and 3 types of RNAs. The question concerned to the ribosomes present in mitochondria and chloroplast. They would ask, the ribosome present in mitochondria and chloroplast is of a 70S type or 80S type. The answer is 70S type as well. A prokaryotic ribosome is present in the mitochondria and chloroplast, which are there in eukaryotic cells. Remember, they make the question concern to this. Which type of ribosomes present in chloroplast and mitochondria? 70S ribosomes. Even in multiple choice, they may not give the answer 70S ribosome. They may give in another form. Which type of ribosomes present in autocatalytic organelles like mitochondria and chloroplast? The answer, prokaryotic ribosome. Second, eukaryotic ribosomes, both none. The answer is prokaryotic ribosome, because it's a 70S ribosome. As 70S ribosome is there in prokaryotic cell, is a prokaryotic ribosome, and 80S ribosomes are there in eukaryotic cells, is a eukaryotic ribosome. Chloroplast and mitochondria are there in eukaryotic cell, but the ribosome present in them is prokaryotic ribosome, that is 70S ribosome, where they can ask the question. In addition to this, there are very interesting things. They have made the revolution in cytogenetics. 1 to 100, a circular double-stranded DNA structures. Those are named as plasmids. Plasmids. There is a main DNA, that is double-stranded circular nucleus, and in addition to that, in cytoplasm, along with 70S ribosome, we do have double-stranded circular DNAs numbering from 1 to 100. Those are named as plasmids. Here you have to concentrate on that when it is said to be slime layer and its composition, in which kind of bacteria, and when the outermost layer is named as capsule, what is its composition, and the example of bacteria which are having capsule, about the cell wall, plasma membrane, respiratory structure, and about the ribosomes. You got to remember, because they can raise the question on that. In addition to that, yesterday, while dealing with endospore formation during unfavorable condition, around the bacteria, thick cell wall is formed. A thick cell wall which is formed during the endospore formation, that thick cell wall is having the chemical composition. That chemical substance present is dipicolinic acid. Remember this. Dipicolinic acid. They would ask the question. The cell wall of bacteria while forming endospores consists of which of the following chemical substance? That is dipicolinic acid. Dipicolinic acid. Okay? Yes. It's about the structure. The most common type of reproduction here is by binary fission. It's the most common type as well. In addition to this, a primitive type of sexual reproduction we do find in bacteria. Those are conjugation, transformation, and a transduction. Those are the three, a primitive type of asexual reproduction taking place in bacteria. And let us see a classification of bacteria. They are classified into Autotrophic bacteria and Heterotrophic bacteria. As the name itself indicates, Autotrophic bacteria are the bacteria, they prepare their own food, and Heterotrophic, they are dependent on other organisms or dead organic matter for their food. That you know about. They are very theoretical things. And in Autotrophic bacteria, we do have two types where very interesting things we have to notice in those two types. In Autotrophic bacteria, we do have two types. One is photosynthetic bacteria and another is chemosynthetic bacteria. Chemosynthetic bacteria. They come under autotrophic. Photosynthetic bacteria, they synthesize the glucose, but the raw material used for the synthesis of glucose by the bacteria are H2S and CO2 instead of H2O and CO2. Let us have the equation for bacterial photosynthesis. 12 H2S, 6 CO2 giving C6 H12O6, 6 H2O and 12S. 12S. This is the equation for bacterial photosynthesis. It is taking place in presence of sunlight with the help of bacterial chlorophyll. Bacterial chlorophyll. They may ask by giving the equations, which of the following is the equation for bacterial photosynthesis? A equation for photosynthesis of plants. Like that they can ask, this is the equation for bacterial photosynthesis. And the example for photosynthetic bacteria is chlorobium. Remember this one, chlorobium. Which of the following is a photosynthetic bacteria? That is chlorobium bacteria. Let us see about chemosynthetic. They are also independent. They are not dependent on other organisms for their food. Those are chemosynthetic bacteria. What they do is they oxidize chemical substances. During the oxidation of chemical substance, the energy is released. The released energy is used by them. That's all. Chemosynthetic bacteria, they oxidize the chemical substance. During the oxidation, the energy is released, that is used by those bacteria. Let us see the example. The chemosynthetic bacteria, what they do is they convert ammonia into nitrites. This is nitrosomonas, and hence formed nitrite is oxidized into nitrate by nitrobacter. By nitrobacter. Here, these are nitrosomonas and nitrobacter are chemosynthetic bacteria. They are chemosynthetic bacteria. What they do, they oxidize the chemical substances. During their oxidation, energy is released. That energy is used by those bacteria as well. Even these two bacteria are also named as nitrifying bacteria. What it means? These two are nitrifying bacteria. What they do? They convert ammonia into nitrates. Ammonia into nitrates. Remember, the entry of nitrogen into the plant's body takes place in the form of nitrates. The entry of nitrogen into the plant body takes place in the form of nitrates. They may make the question. But the entry of nitrogen into the animal's body takes place in the form of proteins. We take our nitrogen requirement by taking proteins. But plants, they get their nitrogen requirement by taking nitrates. Okay? And then these two, which of the following are nitrifying bacteria? These two are nitrifying bacteria. And one more bacteria, denitrifying bacteria. Denitrifying bacteria. Which of the following is a denitrifying bacteria? They may ask. The denitrifying bacteria is Pseudomonas. What it does? It converts the nitrate into free nitrogen. It converts the nitrate which is there in the soil. It is converted into free nitrogen and it goes to environment. That's why farmers, whenever they use urea, in which the nitrate is there, as soon as they give urea to the crop plants, water should be passed. Otherwise, that nitrate, is converted into free nitrogen by the action of the Pseudomonas. Because it's a denitrifying bacteria, it is present in the soil. That's why whenever we are using urea, as soon as we use the urea, within no time we should give the water as well. And now, these are chemosynthetic bacteria. Photosynthetic and chemosynthetic, both of them are autotrophic bacteria. And now, heterotrophic bacteria. They are not preparing their food, but they are dependent on other organisms or dead organic matter for their food. They are of three types: parasitic bacteria, saprophytic bacteria, and symbiotic bacteria. Parasitic bacteria are the bacteria which infect living beings, cause the disease, and they get the food from those living organisms. Those are parasitic bacteria. Take for example Salmonella typhi, which causes typhoid, and Vibrio cholerae, which causes cholera. Saprophytic bacteria. These are the bacteria which decompose the dead organic matter. Those are saprophytic bacteria as well. In the ecosystem, the different name has been given to these saprophytic bacteria as decomposers. Even another name, natural scavengers. Natural scavengers. They are the cleaners of the nature. They are the cleaners of the nature. They clean the nature by decomposing all the dead bodies, the dead organic matter. And then Clostridium and Pseudomonas are the example for saprophytic bacteria. And a symbiotic bacteria are the unique bacteria. They lead their life in other living organisms. They get shelter and food from that living organism. On the other hand, they help those living organisms as well. The best example is Rhizobium. Is a symbiotic bacteria. Rhizobium is a symbiotic bacteria. It is present, its development takes place in the root nodules of leguminous plants. Root nodules, where Rhizobium bacteria will be there. What it does is, it fixes atmospheric nitrogen and converts that nitrogen into nitrate and supply to the plant. On the other hand, it gets shelter and food from that leguminous plants. Example pea. They are symbiotic bacteria as well. And one more interesting thing, which of the following is a symbiotic bacteria? If they ask, the answer is Rhizobium. But there is one more bacteria which is asymbiotic, that is there in soil, fixes atmospheric nitrogen and converts it into nitrate and supply to the plant. On the other hand, it never gets food from that plant. Asymbiotic. So that definitely is a NEET question. Example for asymbiotic bacteria is Autotrophic. Remember this bacteria. Autotrophic. It is there in soil. It is not dependent on plants for their food. But what it does? It fixes the atmospheric nitrogen, converts it into nitrate and supply that nitrate to the plant. But on the other hand, it never takes food from that plant as well. This is about the classification. You remember about this Azotobacter and Rhizobium. They are very important. On that they may make the question. And about example for denitrifying bacteria also they can ask. And even nitrifying bacteria like Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter, concerned with them there will be a question. And even with respect to bacteria, types of bacteria based on their shape, that is there in your text, they are classified as coccus bacteria. They are spherical in shape, and Bacillus bacteria, they are rod shaped, and Spirulum bacteria, they are spirally coiled. Even Vibrio bacteria, which are comma shaped, example that Vibrio cholerae. About that classification based on their shape also they can ask. The very important thing concerned to this bacteria is you have to remember, you have to make one big chart in which you should place the name of the diseases as well as the causal organism.